All right, so you're prepping for this benefits advice worker interview and feeling kind of overwhelmed by all the possible questions, right?
It can be a lot.
Totally. Don't worry that we've got this. We've got all your notes, the RoleCatcher Career Guide, and even their specific interview guide for this job.
We're like your interview Sherpas here to guide you through it all.
Exactly.
Yeah.
We're going to tackle those common questions, give you some insider tips on what the interviewers are really looking for.
And we'll even sprinkle in some career insights to help you stand out from the other candidates.
Oh, and we can't forget about RoleCatcher's AI.
Oh, yeah, that's a game changer.
It can be your secret weapon for crafting those perfect answers.
For sure.
Okay, so before we dive into the questions head first, let's step back and paint a picture of this role.
Okay, sounds good.
You're not just dealing with numbers here, right?
Nope, definitely not.
You're helping people through tough times, advising them on benefits.
Right, and addressing personal issues too, even things like addiction.
It's a big responsibility for sure.
It is. It's like being a social work detective, uncovering resources and empowering people to get through challenging situations.
I love that analogy.
Yeah.
Okay, so speaking of challenges, let's tackle the first question that might pop up in your interview.
Okay, hit me.
What experience do you have in providing benefits advice?
Oh, that's a common one.
Right, and it can feel intimidating, especially if you haven't had that exact job title before.
Definitely. But don't panic. They're not always looking for years and years of direct experience.
What are they looking for then?
They really want to see evidence of those relevant skills,
Yeah,
you know?
but transferable skills, basically.
Exactly. Whether those skills came from previous jobs, volunteer work, or even personal experiences.
I see. So how can someone effectively showcase those skills then?
Think about specific examples where you've helped someone navigate a complex system.
Like what?
Well, maybe you volunteered at a nonprofit and helped people access resources.
Okay.
Or maybe you helped a family member apply for benefits.
Oh, yeah, that counts.
It does. Or even just being a listening ear for a friend in need, that can be relevant too.
Right, because you're providing support.
Exactly. And it's important to connect those experiences back to what's needed for this specific role.
You mean the benefits advice worker role?
Yeah. You want to highlight things like your communication skills,
Okay.
your ability to gather information and explain it clearly,
Makes sense.
and of course your empathy, your patience, your problem-solving abilities.
Those are all crucial for this kind of job.
For sure.
And you know what? This is where RoleCatcher's AI can be a total lifesaver.
Oh yeah, tell me about it.
Their Tailor Your Answers feature is amazing.
How so?
It analyzes specific job descriptions and suggests responses that really target those key skills.
Wow, so it's like having a personal career coach in your pocket.
Exactly. Okay, ready for question number 2.
Bring it on.
How do you stay up to date with changes in welfare benefits?
Ah, yes. This one's all about showing your commitment to continuous learning.
Which makes sense because the welfare system is always changing.
Yeah. Always. So you need to stay informed.
What are some good ways to show them you're on top of things?
Well, attending conferences and workshops is always a good start.
Okay,
But you can also talk about specific publications you follow.
like journals and stuff.
Yeah. Or online resources you use, or even professional organizations you're part of.
Ah, so you're really plugged into that world.
Exactly.
Very
You
nice.
want to demonstrate that genuine engagement.
It shows you're serious about the field.
Exactly. And speaking of being serious, let's look at something the RoleCatcher Career Guide mentions.
Okay, what's that?
Advancement paths. It talks about how important continuous learning is for building a career in this area.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
It's not just about getting the job, it's about where you go from there.
Exactly. Show them you're invested in your professional growth.
It makes you a more desirable candidate.
For sure. All right. Moving on to question number 3.
Okay, what is it?
How do you ensure you provide accurate and appropriate advice to clients?
This one gets to the heart of the job.
It does, because accuracy is key.
Absolutely. You're dealing with sensitive information, and people's livelihoods depend on this advice.
Exactly. So how do you showcase your meticulous approach?
That's the question.
Well, walk them through your process. Do you have a system for double-checking information?
Okay.
Or for researching laws and regulations? Or for consulting with colleagues who have more experience?
It's like having checks and balances in place.
Right. Maybe you have a go-to resource or a database or something.
Well, having a clear process shows you take this seriously.
It does. And again, RoleCatcher's AI can help you tailor your answer.
To highlight the most relevant parts.
Yeah. Okay, ready for a bit of a change of pace?
Sure, bring it on.
Question number 4. How do you handle difficult clients who are resistant to your advice?
Ooh, that's a tough one.
It can be. This is where those people skills really come into play.
You're going to encounter all sorts of clients.
You will. And not everyone is going to be receptive to your advice.
That's for sure. So what's the key here?
It's all about building rapport, listening, actively empathizing with their situation.
Even if you disagree with them.
Even then, you need to make them feel heard and understood.
That takes a lot of skill.
It does.
Yeah.
And if you have a specific story about a time you successfully dealt with a difficult client,
Keeping it anonymous, of course.
of course,
Yeah.
that can really bring your skills to life.
It shows you can handle the pressure.
Exactly. Okay, question number 5 dives into another crucial part of this job.
Let's hear it.
How do you maintain confidentiality when working with clients?
This one seems pretty straightforward.
It does, but you need to show them you really understand how important confidentiality is.
Especially with all that sensitive personal information.
Exactly. So don't just say you'll keep things confidential.
Go deeper.
Yeah. Mention specific ethical guidelines and legal frameworks you'd follow.
Emphasize your commitment to discretion.
And building trust with those clients.
Because you're working with people who might already be feeling vulnerable.
Right. You want to create a safe and trusting environment for them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Okay, before we jump into the next set of questions, let's take a quick look back at the RoleCatcher Career Guide.
Okay, sounds good.
They mentioned some alternative titles for this role.
Oh, like what?
Things like Welfare Rights Advisor or Social Security Advocate.
Ah, so the same kind of job, but with a different name.
Exactly.
Oh.
Knowing those alternative titles can help you broaden your job search.
It's like casting a wider net.
Exactly. Okay.
Yeah.
Ready for a rapid fire round?
Hit me with it.
All right, question number 6. How do you prioritize your workload when dealing with multiple clients?
Ooh, that's all about time management and organization.
Because you'll probably be juggling a lot of different cases.
Most likely. So showcase those organizational skills.
How can you do that best?
Talk about your systems for staying on top of things. Do you use a specific method for prioritizing tasks?
Like what?
A color-coded calendar, maybe? Or a to-do list app? Anything like that.
So show you have a system instead of just winging it.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to mention delegating tasks or seeking support from colleagues when needed.
It shows you're a team player.
Okay, ready for number 7.
Shoot.
How do you deal with clients who are in crisis situations?
That one feels intense.
It can be. You need to show them you can stay calm under pressure.
And assess the situation quickly.
Right, and connect clients with the right resources.
So you're like a problem solver in those moments.
Exactly. Do you know the local emergency hotlines?
Oh, good point.
Mental health resources? Shelters? Things like that.
It's about being prepared.
Definitely. Because being that go-to person for clients in crisis is a big responsibility.
And it's not just about knowing the resources.
Yep.
It's also about having that emotional intelligence to de-escalate situations.
And providing support in a calm and empathetic way.
Okay, ready for the next 3 in our rapid fire round.
Let's do it.
Question number 8. How do you handle conflicts of interest when working with clients?
This one's about ethical awareness and professional boundaries.
How can you best prepare for this one?
Think about scenarios where a conflict of interest might come up.
Like what?
What if you were assigned a case involving a close friend or a family member?
Oh, that's tricky.
It is. Or what if you had a personal belief that conflicted with the client's needs?
It's about staying impartial.
Exactly. And being transparent. Seeking guidance from supervisors when you need to.
Speaking of seeking guidance, the RoleCatcher Guide emphasizes building relationships with support organizations.
Oh, that's so important.
It is. You're not working in a vacuum.
Nope. You'll often need to refer clients to other resources.
Or advocate for them within a larger system.
So those relationships are key.
How can you demonstrate that in the interview?
You can mention specific organizations you know or talk about past experiences working with other agencies.
It shows you understand that network of support.
Okay.
Number 9 in our rapid fire round. How do you handle sensitive information when working with vulnerable clients?
This goes beyond basic confidentiality.
It does. You need to recognize those specific needs and vulnerabilities.
And take extra steps to protect their privacy and dignity. Right. So in your answer, talk about your commitment to confidentiality.
Both legally and ethically.
Right. You can also mention specific things you do.
Like what?
Making sure you have private meeting spaces, using discreet language, being mindful of who has access to their information.
Those are all good points.
It's all about creating that safe and trusting environment.
Where clients feel comfortable sharing their struggles.
Exactly. All right, last question in this rapid fire round.
Bring it on.
How do you advocate for clients who are facing unfair treatment from benefit providers?
This one's about social justice.
And navigating those bureaucratic systems.
That's about being a champion for your clients.
Exactly. Making sure they get the support they deserve and challenging any unfair practices.
So how should someone approach this question?
Well, brainstorm some examples of situations where you might need to advocate for someone.
Okay.
Like, what would you do if a client was denied benefits they should have received?
Or if they face discrimination.
Exactly. And highlight your knowledge of the laws, the regulations, the appeals processes.
You're showing them you can navigate the system effectively.
And don't be afraid to show your passion for this work.
This role is about making a real difference in people's lives.
It is. And that passion will shine through in your answers.
Now, before we move on to our final thoughts, I want to touch on something important.
Okay, what's that?
Body language and nonverbal communication.
Oh, that's often overlooked.
It is. But it can really impact how the interviewer sees you.
So what should people keep in mind?
Remember to make eye contact, sit up straight, use hand gestures to emphasize your points.
It's about looking and feeling confident.
Exactly. And be mindful of your facial expressions and your tone of voice.
You want to project professionalism and enthusiasm.
And guess what? RoleCatcher's video practice with AI feedback can help with this too.
Oh, so.
The AI can analyze your body language and give you personalized feedback.
Wow, that's incredible.
It's like having a personal coach for your interview presence.
For sure.
Okay, we've covered a lot of ground in this first part of our deep dive.
We have. We tackled those tough questions, explored some career insights.
And talked about how to use RoleCatcher's AI to your advantage.
Don't worry, though, there's more to come.
In the next part, we'll delve even deeper into those career insights.
We'll discuss how to use RoleCatcher's AI even more effectively.
And we'll leave you with some final thoughts to help you rock those interviews.
So stay tuned. Welcome back to our Benefits Advice Worker Interview Prep Deep Dive. We covered some tricky questions in the last part.
We did.
So now let's explore some career insights that might give you an edge during those interviews.
Sounds good. The RoleCatcher Career Guide really stresses continuous learning in this field.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
It's not just about what, right now. It's about constantly staying updated on new legislation benefits programs.
Best practices, the whole 9 yards.
Exactly. How can we weave this into our interview answers?
Well, you could mention specific ways you stay informed.
Oh, like what?
Like attending those workshops, reading industry publications.
Or even participating in those online forums, right?
Exactly. It shows you're proactive and committed to giving the most accurate advice.
To your clients.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
Speaking of clients, let's go back to that handling difficult clients question.
Okay, yeah.
The RoleCatcher Guide also talks about empathy and communication skills.
Oh, absolutely. Those are essential.
You're going to be working with people going through some tough stuff.
Definitely. So being a good listener, understanding their perspective.
And communicating clearly and with compassion.
All incredibly important. And don't forget about those alternative job titles.
Right.
Remember, benefits advice worker could also be called welfare rights advisor or social security advocate.
It's good to keep those in mind when you're searching for jobs.
You don't want to miss out on opportunities just because they use different wording.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, let's circle back to RoleCatcher's AI for a minute.
Okay.
This thing can seriously be your secret weapon in this interview process.
Oh, so?
That tailor your answers feature is gold.
Oh, yeah. Tell me about it.
It analyzes the job description and suggests wording that'll really resonate with the hiring manager.
It's like a personalized resume writer and interview coach rolled into one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then there's the video practice with AI feedback.
Oh, yeah. That one's cool.
You can record yourself answering those questions and get feedback.
Feedback on what?
On your delivery, your content, even your body language.
Wow. It's like a mock interview with an expert.
Right. Okay, let's get back to those rapid-fire questions.
Okay, shoot.
Question number 8. How do you handle conflicts of interest when working with clients?
This one can seem a bit tricky.
It can, but it's really about showing your ethical awareness.
And your commitment to those professional boundaries.
So how should we prep for this one?
Think about some hypothetical scenarios where a conflict of interest might pop up.
Give me an example.
What if you got assigned a case involving a close friend or family member?
Oh, that's a tough one.
Or what if you had a personal belief that clashed with the client's needs?
It's about staying impartial.
Exactly. You got to demonstrate that you understand the need for transparency.
And seeking guidance when necessary.
Speaking of guidance, let's look at another takeaway from the RoleCatcher Guide.
Okay.
Building relationships with support organizations.
That's important.
Oh, it is. You're not working in isolation, you know?
Right.
You'll need to refer clients to other resources sometimes.
Or advocate for them within a larger system.
So building those strong relationships with other organizations is key.
So how can we show that in the interview?
Mention specific organizations you're familiar with or talk about past experiences collaborating with other agencies.
It shows you understand the importance of that network of support.
All right, on to question number 9 in our rapid fire round.
What is it?
How do you handle sensitive information when working with vulnerable clients?
This one calls for a lot of empathy,
And professionalism.
plus a deep understanding of those confidentiality rules.
Absolutely. You're working with people who are often dealing with some pretty difficult situations
So you need to create that safe and trusting environment.
where they feel comfortable sharing that sensitive information.
What should our answer focus on?
Emphasize your dedication to maintaining confidentiality,
Okay.
both in terms of the legal stuff and those ethical principles.
Right. You can also talk about specific practices.
Like making sure you have private meeting spaces, using discreet language.
Being mindful of who has access to their information, all
Oh,
that.
exactly. And don't forget to highlight your sensitivity to their unique needs and vulnerabilities.
Like trauma-informed care.
Or culturally sensitive communication. Those are important too,
It shows you're treating them as individuals.
not just case files. Okay, on to the last question in our rapid fire round.
Let's hear it.
How do you advocate for clients who are facing unfair treatment from benefit providers?
This one's all about that passion for social justice.
And knowing how to navigate those bureaucratic systems,
It's about being a true advocate for your clients
making sure they get the support they deserve.
and challenging any unfair or discriminatory practices.
So how should we tackle this question?
Well, we need to brainstorm specific examples of situations where we might need to advocate for a client.
Okay, like what?
What if a client is denied benefits they should have received?
Or if they face discrimination because of their race or gender or disability?
Those are tough situations.
They are, and you need to show them, how to handle them.
So highlight your knowledge of the laws, the regulations, the appeals processes.
You're not just complaining, you're showing them you can navigate the system and fight for your clients' rights.
And don't be afraid to let your passion show.
This role is about making a tangible difference in people's lives.
It is. And that passion will resonate with the interviewers.
Now, before we wrap up this episode, I want to touch on one more thing.
All right, what is it?
Body language and nonverbal communication during the interview.
This is so important.
People often overlook it, but it can make a huge difference in how you come across.
So what are your top tips?
Make eye contact, sit up straight, use hand gestures to emphasize your points.
Project that confidence.
And be mindful of your facial expressions and your tone of voice.
It's about looking and sounding professional and enthusiastic.
You know what can help with this?
What?
RoleCatcher's video practice with AI feedback.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
The AI can actually analyze your body language and give you personalized feedback.
It's like having a personal image consultant for your interview.
Exactly. Okay, so we've covered a lot in this part of our deep dive.
We explored some key career insights from the RoleCatcher Guide.
We talked about how to use RoleCatcher's AI even more effectively.
And we revisited those challenging rapid-fire questions.
Now, in the final part, we'll wrap things up.
We'll leave you with some final thoughts and tips.
To help you really nail those interviews and land your dream job.
Stay tuned. All right, welcome back for the final part of our Benefits Advice Worker Interview Prep Deep Dive.
We've covered a lot of ground, haven't we?
We have, from tackling those tough questions to exploring career insights.
And of course, using the power of RoleCatcher's AI.
We've given you the tools and strategies you need to approach those interviews with confidence.
And authenticity.
Exactly. Now let's wrap things up with some final thoughts and tips to help you seal the deal.
Sounds good.
Remember, it's not just about giving the quote-unquote right answers.
It's more than that.
It's about showcasing your passion, your empathy, that genuine desire to make a difference.
You gotta let your personality shine through.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Share those experiences, your motivations, what makes you uniquely qualified for this role.
And don't forget to prepare some questions for them.
Oh, that's a good point.
It shows you're engaged and interested.
What kind of questions should we ask?
Ask about the team dynamics, the organization's commitment to professional development.
Or any challenges or opportunities specific to that role.
It's also a chance to clarify anything that wasn't covered in the job description or during the interview itself.
So it's a two-way street.
Exactly. Now let's go back to one of the key themes from this whole deep dive.
Which one?
The importance of continuous learning.
Right, because this field is always changing.
It is. So showing that commitment to staying updated is key.
How can we reiterate that in our closing remarks?
Express your enthusiasm for learning and growing within the role.
Okay.
Maybe mention a specific area you're interested in or a professional development goal you have.
So you're showing them you're in it for the long haul.
Exactly. And don't underestimate the power of a thank you note after the interview.
It's a nice touch.
It is. It reinforces your interest and leaves a positive impression.
What should we include in that thank you note?
You can reiterate your enthusiasm for the role, mention something specific that resonated with you during the interview.
Or even ask a follow-up question.
It shows you're still engaged.
And of course, RoleCatcher is there to support you throughout this whole process.
They are.
From tailoring your resume to practicing those interview answers.
Those AI-powered tools are invaluable.
Don't hesitate to use their free resources and guidance.
They're there to help you land that dream job.
We hope this deep dive has given you the knowledge and the confidence to really ace those interviews.
And embark on a fulfilling career in this field.
Because remember, you have the power to make a real difference in people's lives.
We believe in you.
Best of luck out there.